Hey everyone, it's Mike. I review nootropics and talk personal development, and during this video we're going to talk about the ideal nootropic stack for studying and learning. And be sure to stay tuned to the end of the video as I'm going to address some popular questions like what are my thoughts on Modafinil for studying. So let's get right into it. Alright, so here is the specific stack. It's Bacopa 300 milligrams across 2 servings a day, Piracetam 800 milligrams 3 times a day, Alpha GPC at 200 milligrams 3 times a day, and Pramiracetam at 300 milligrams 2 to 3 times a day, and I'll expand more on this, and then Rhodiola Rosea at 300 milligrams twice per day. So let's address them one by one. Now, with a nootropic stack we want to use for studying, it really encompasses a few things. First, it's going to encompass things like memory, like your long-term memory, your short-term memory, your ability to retain information, because there's getting through material and reading all your chapters, but as well, what about the consolidation of all those memories and being able to internalize it so you can recall all that information when exam time comes or when you have to write up an assignment. And then the second thing that we want to ensure is being addressed with the use of nootropics is specifically your work ethic. So this is like discipline. You can say it's your willpower. It's the difference between you studying, say, 12 hours a day while somebody else, maybe one of your peers, is studying 8 hours a day. So if you can use nootropics to really boost your memory and to really increase your work ethic, you're looking at getting much better grades. For me, what that looked like was back when I was in school, when I started using nootropics, I pretty much changed from like a C+ student over to an A- or a B+ student. And I was at a very difficult school. I mean, prior to college/university, we call it university here in Canada, I was always a good student, but man, university and college just shocked me and my grades suffered. So I was averaging like C+, but then again, with the use of nootropics, working really hard, being able to be in a resourceful state throughout the whole day, it really made a big difference, and I'm sure it can make a big difference for you as well. Of course, be sure to assess your tolerance with things, guys. I'm not going to tell you to do something crazy, as I never did something crazy. We're using nootropics, and we talk about nootropics on this channel in a fashion which is going to be beneficial in all areas of our lives. So not only being productive, but of course it's going to complement our goals with respect to health and respect to everything else. So let's go through the nootropics one by one. First, addressing Bacopa Monnieri. This is one of the most popular nootropics out there. It's specifically used as an adaptogen, meaning its ability to fight stress and to some extent reduce anxiety, although what it has as another benefit is its ability to improve your memory. Now, this was a really interesting study, and one of the studies really showing how powerful Bacopa Monnieri can be, because what they did was for 6 weeks, they took a number of the students and they divided them into 2 groups. One of the groups was taking placebo twice a day, and the other group was only taking 150 milligrams twice a day. And at the end of the study, they were tested in a variety of different ways. We can see here digit span memory task, there was a paired associate task, there was a logical memory test where they had to recall a specific story. And just to elaborate on the digit span memory task, it was just one of those tasks where you have to memorize a series of numbers. Like for those of you that have tried to remember pi, then you know what I mean. And they were tested, and the bottom line showed that Bacopa Monnieri was very effective at improving the students' memories. So why not everybody use Bacopa Monnieri? For me, given that Bacopa Monnieri is a plant, it's somewhat naturally occurring and arguably safer than other nootropics, I think Bacopa Monnieri is like a no-brainer. I mean, even if you were to just get one nootropic, Bacopa Monnieri is neat in that it's going to work irregardless of whether or not you're using other nootropics. There's some nootropics that kind of just do well when you mix them with other ones. Bacopa Monnieri, even independently, is going to be very effective. In terms of dosage, for me, what I like is Bacopa Monnieri once early in the afternoon and then once in the later afternoon. So the practical sense is maybe like once at 12 o'clock and once again at maybe 5 o'clock, depending on the number of hours you study and what your schedule looks like. Me, myself, and others may not agree, but I personally don't like taking Bacopa first thing in the morning, and the reason why is because Bacopa, for a few hours, you can be somewhat demotivated, you can be a little bit lazy, and they can to some extent reduce your work ethic, which is why it's really important that you get the nootropic stack right, because in this stack particularly, I have things which are going to aid in my memory and my cognitive function, but as well are going to aid in overall work ethic, because again, it's really both which matter at the end of the day. If you want to learn more about that and about Bacopa in depth, then I would recommend you watch this video here. It's called Should You Avoid Bacopa Monnieri, and that can further provide you with some good information. Alright, now the second nootropic as part of that stack is Piracetam. Piracetam is part of the Racetam class of family of nootropics. They can do a lot of different things. Piracetam specifically, I find, has helped me with energy, motivation, and a little bit with memory as well. So the ideal way in which I take it is 800 milligrams across 3 times a day. Piracetam is unique and it's different than Bacopa in that it does take a long time to work, unfortunately. I think this is where a lot of people make the mistake with Piracetam. A lot of people expect it to have like a noticeable benefit within the first day of taking it. No, this isn't caffeine. This is not a stimulant like Modafinil or like phenylpiracetam. That's a completely different animal. With Piracetam, the key is consistency. I'll admit it took me probably like a few months to notice it was working, but when you try taking it and then you try taking it out of your stack, eventually you can tell like when you get it out of your stack, you're just immediately less sharper. So Piracetam, it's kind of like you're sharper for a longer period throughout the day. And after a few weeks, you'll notice like you're just more motivated overall and you're far less likely to be distracted by things outside of studying, like whether it's girls or video games or maybe sports if you're somebody that has a bad tendency to watch sports. Or I know a lot of you are on Netflix these days. Oh my gosh, just get rid of that thing, guys. Avoid the temptation. So Piracetam kind of helps that way, provided that you stay consistent. The first thing you'll be able to tell that it's doing is you'll notice you'll be working more hours, like your motivation, your energy levels will be up. And then as a side benefit, I found that it really does improve your memory as well. And I've had comments across this on the channel. I mean, I've had some crazy comments say like Piracetam is what helped me get through college. And Piracetam was something like I used a lot of. I think 800 milligrams 3 times a day is a conservative amount, but I'll admit like back then I think I was taking like 1 to maybe 1.3 grams 3 times a day. So for those of you that are new to Piracetam, don't judge it based on just a few days, because I get so often people say, Mike, I've tried Piracetam for a few days, it hasn't done anything. Well, it wasn't supposed to, and I've pretty much tried my best to address that on all my videos. Again, it takes time to start working. Just be patient with it. It's not like caffeine. And the good news is the stuff is like awfully inexpensive. I have it in both the powder form and the capsule form. I'll just show you. So here the capsules, like one capsule is 800 milligrams. It's a pretty big capsule, as I'm sure many of you can see, although just be mindful, if you're not taking it in the capsule form and you're taking it in the powdered form, you must be a brave soul, because the stuff does taste really damn bad. It took me like months to get used to the taste, but now I don't mind it. Like you can see, I got this big tub. This is 1 kilogram of this stuff. And it's this like white, kind of hard, clumpy material. Just be mindful, make sure you don't get water inside of it. Otherwise it'll pretty much just form these clumps. But even if it does get a bit clumpy, then I'd still say it is okay to use. All right, the next nootropic as part of this stack is alpha GPC, which is a choline source. Alpha GPC, it has some alternatives. If you have choline bitartrate or you have CDP choline, then you should be okay. What alpha GPC is responsible for is pretty much like you can say energy for the brain. So how is it going to help you? It has so many benefits. If you were just to scroll across examine.com, I think your mind would be blown. It even has benefits when it comes to working out. There's a lot of like popular pre-workout formulas which include alpha GPC because of the benefits across growth hormone and power output. But with respect to nootropics and it being a nootropic for studying and learning, where it's going to help is help you to study for more hours. I find that I can tell alpha GPC is working because let's say if I have a tendency to study for maybe like 7 hours and then I feel tired, with alpha GPC I can probably study for 9 hours versus 7. So you'll notice that you'll be able to like reduce your fatigue throughout the whole day. You'll have less of a need for breaks and you'll find that your memory is better as well. So with alpha GPC, you'll notice the benefits working faster than the Racetams, but I would still recommend that you do stay consistent with it. For me, what that looks like is 200 milligrams 3 times per day. I like it a lot. With alpha GPC, I mean, even now that I'm not a student, I'm still using this stuff because my work ethic is up. I'm resourceful for more hours. So if you're like me, you're just trying to make money and you're hustling, then alpha GPC is also, I would say, a no-brainer. I will admit it's slightly more expensive, so if it doesn't fit within your budget, because I know there's only so many nootropics we can get, then CDP choline is a good option. Choline bitartrate is also an okay option. I didn't find choline bitartrate too effective. Some people do notice better results from taking CDP choline, so the ideal way is maybe mixing a little bit of both. But for me, alpha GPC is what works, and I like it a lot. All right, nootropic number 3 would be Pramiracetam. So this again is part of the Racetam family. Where it's different than Piracetam is you dose it less. So again, each dose is something like 300 milligrams, especially if you were to get it in the capsule form. That's what's most common, 300 milligrams. And how it's different than Piracetam is that it has this unique ability to like kind of like shut down your emotions and allows you to study and do work in a very consistent fashion despite how boring it is. So I mean, unfortunately with studying, not everything is that interesting. You're going to have courses which you enjoy, and you're going to have courses which you don't enjoy, material which is just boring and you just need to get through it. That's where Pramiracetam is really helpful. You can almost like fake an interest because you're so just disciplined to get through the work, as it really just has this impact on you of like, the work you put in now will be well worth it later on. Like, it's discipline in a pill pretty much, because you can just stay so consistent. You almost to some extent feel a bit robotic. That's one con with it. It can shut down your emotions. But I mean, if you're in the space of studying, that's pretty much all that matters, especially for those of you that may be cramming for an upcoming exam. So with Pramiracetam, it's similar to Piracetam. You have to be a little bit patient. The ideal way is taking 300 milligrams 3 times a day, but I understand it's just so damn expensive, especially compared to Piracetam and the other nootropics, that twice a day I would say should be sufficient. Give it about 2 weeks before you do a proper evaluation of Pramiracetam, because again, what so is, it's like Piracetam again, it takes a while for you to start noticing the results. There are some people across the channel that mention Pramiracetam is working immediately. That can happen, but I've noticed maybe only like 20 to 30% of users seem to experience that immediate benefit. Alright, and the last nootropic as part of this stack is the wonderful Rhodiola Rosea. This is a nootropic that is always going to go in my top 5 nootropics. A lot of people ask me on this channel, what are your top 5? Honestly, I'm always changing my top 5. It changes from day to day, but Rhodiola Rosea is one of the things that I pretty much always kept because it's good for students, good for people working, good for somebody elder that's maybe fighting a bit of fatigue and noticing their energy levels aren't as high enough. It's just such a beautiful nootropic. I like it a lot. I've made a video over here, which I will link, and I'd recommend everybody checks that out because Rhodiola Rosea is one nootropic that most people find working, whereas with like Piracetam, Pramiracetam, even alpha GPC to some extent, it seems like maybe 70% of people notice the benefits, whereas there's that odd group of people that just don't notice the results, and maybe it's just because you're living a very healthy lifestyle already and you're getting enough choline through your diet. With Rhodiola Rosea, it's an adaptogen, it's a herb, it's naturally occurring, and specifically how it's used is, I call it like a nap in a pill. It really just fights fatigue. So if you're somebody that has a tendency to feel a little bit tired in the early afternoon, like pop some Rhodiola Rosea and wow, you feel like your fatigue is just wiped away. It's pretty damn cool, and it also has a lot of research showing its effects if you're sleep deprived. It's one of the few nootropics out there showing that it still helps you to be in a resourceful state, similar to something like creatine or phosphatidylserine. So it's like a nap in a pill, and I mean, who wouldn't want that? You're able to work for more hours, and it's neat in that it's somewhat stimulating, but at the same time you can sleep, if that makes sense. It's kind of like a wakefulness agent, so you do feel like this acute 1 to 2 hours effect of just feeling more present, being more engaged in your work, being really focused, being able to reduce your distractions. And Rhodiola Rosea also has this neat impact on reducing your appetite. Like, it's an appetite suppressant, and it almost makes you want to avoid unhealthy foods. I find that my carbohydrate cravings or my cravings for like fattening foods are immediately decreased. So Rhodiola Rosea, I like it a lot. I would highly recommend it. What the ideal dosage looks like is 300 milligrams twice a day, similar to when you're taking Bacopa, so once in the early afternoon and then once again in the late afternoon. And I would say if you're somebody that's not sleeping much and you're studying like throughout the whole day, even a part of the night, then one more dose of Rhodiola, say 4 hours after, can serve you quite well. Alright, now let's address the very commonly asked question of what do I think of Modafinil for studying? Modafinil for studying, I think it's great, but it does have problems. With Modafinil, it seems like for about 8 to 10 hours, you seem to get the Modafinil effect. So what does that look like? You can read a lot faster, your processing speed is up, you can multitask, you're just a machine. You can work tremendously well, you can decrease distractions. It's like your focus, your concentration, and your mood is up, so you'll be able to like fake an interest in all of your material, and yeah, you can just get through it. Although of course we can't talk about Modafinil and ignore some of the cons and the side effects, which I've elaborated in depth over here during this video, and I really think that with the help of this video you're gonna understand Modafinil like in and out. So what specifically worked for me was Armodafinil. Like, Armodafinil for studying is way better than Modafinil, because with Modafinil you have that crash, whereas with Armodafinil, also known as Nuvigil, you're able to like work way more hours, you're able to retain information, you're able to focus almost just as well. It's just that you don't get that mood uplift that you get with Modafinil, which is why I think Modafinil is so popular. Yes, it can help with productivity, but more so just for a general mood uplift. Like, you're in a good mood for like 6 to 7 hours on Modafinil. So even now, the practical way in which I would be able to tell if I should be using Modafinil or Armodafinil is really just taking into consideration how many hours I plan to study for that day. Because modafinil, it's a wakefulness agent, but I think most users of modafinil understand it is kind of overrated. It doesn't really help to fight a sleep-deprived state, whereas with Armodafinil, even at the same dose, you're able to study well, let's say if you didn't get enough sleep the night prior, and at the same time, it's interesting in that you're able to nap. So Armodafinil, really, really good stuff. Although again, I'm not recommending any of this stuff with modafinil and Armodafinil. That's a completely different animal, like I like to say. You have to get the stuff from your GP, so please don't ask me where to get it. I don't recommend the stuff at all, but it cannot be ignored as a nootropic for studying/learning. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like, click subscribe, and do watch this video over here if you're new to the channel. It's the 5 nootropics for beginners. I think you'll find that quite informative. Alright, so you're new to nootropics and you have no idea where to start. Should you start with modafinil? Should you start with ashwagandha? Should you start with lion's mane? What should I start with? How much do I take? When do I take it? I have so many questions.